Hello everyone, and welcome to Raising Vibrations with myself, Simon. Today, guys, I'm going to be continuing with my Neptune series for you, and we're going to be speaking about the third house today, or should I say Neptune in Gemini or Neptune in the third house. I don't think there is anybody that has Neptune in Gemini at the moment, because that's quite a long way away in terms of history, but nevertheless, Neptune in the third house is exactly what we're going to be chatting about today. So, before I go ahead and actually discuss some of the aspects relative to Neptune in the third house, I just want to ground us again in some of the perspectives that Neptune has for us in terms of life on Earth here, okay? And at least Pisces in the 12th house. So first thing is go check out the introduction video. That one will give you a lot of information about the nature of Pisces and Neptune. And then come check out your actual house placement as well, because that helps, all right? Okay, so Neptune in the third house, like I said, what we're looking at here, again, from the Neptunian perspective, is Neptune correlates to how we inwardly connect to ourselves in terms of connecting back to source. Remember, the process of connecting back to source is being in a situation in which the only possible way for you to, in a sense, resolve it is to develop a sense of inner faith, to surrender to something that is essentially higher than yourself, to recognize that the ego is something that the soul uses as a vehicle in order to actualize its experiences on Earth. And so the connection back to source, in other words, to recognize inwardly who you are versus looking outside of yourself and attaching your identity to the things that are outside of yourself, you are looking within. So you develop things like faith, for instance, situations in which they are spiritually demanding, how you spiritualize your life. This is this Neptunian archetype. Okay, and like I said before, that process of surrender and recognition of something that is higher than yourself is that Piscean archetype, again, or at least the Neptune archetype. So for many of us, when we engage in the Neptunian experience, it's very difficult because up until this point in time, we have lived in the mind as the way in which we decode our reality. We've allowed, the left brain to function in that way. That's a Gemini function. So if we can't make sense of anything using our linear logical process, then it's weird or strange or different. Yet the nature of the universe in itself works through Pisces or Neptunian laws, right? So when you're trying to understand the nature of Pisces within our consciousness, and we're using the linear logical brain to decode that, then we're finding ourselves having a very difficult time trying to make sense of something that is paranormal or something that is strange, or a synchronicity happens, So these are the type of things that you'll experience. Now, with Neptune, with the placement of Neptune being in the third house in itself, this is going to have double emphasis, simply because of the fact that between Neptune, or between Pisces, or the 12th house, and Gemini, there's a natural square, okay? So this is part of the mutable square. Now, as I explained before, when you take something that is abstract and you try and explain it like a Neptunian experience, something that dissolves inherently, then you're never actually going to be able to make sense of it, like I said, with the linear logical brain, because the linear logical mind requires you to have everything in a logical order, and therefore that's how it exists. It can't do it any other way. So when you apply words to something that is Neptunian, you find it very difficult. Okay, because remember, Neptune is everything and it is nothing in that sense. It is the totality of creation in itself, and yet is so vast and complex. It is not something that the mind in itself, or at least the left brain, can actually comprehend. So to put words into something Neptunian in that sense is very difficult, and there's a natural square. So what has this got to do with the actual Neptune in the third house? Well, this is what plagues you guys. In a sense, what's happening here is that the spiritualization of your soul, okay, the Neptune in the third house puts you in a situation in which you inherently project into your reality a natural idealistic or idealism about connecting to something that is higher than yourself, and then being able to converse that, being able to speak that. Yet, unfortunately, everything and everyone around you in itself doesn't relate to you in the depth that you are able to access this information or to communicate it with, leaving you in a situation in which you feel completely alienated from your environment or from the people around you, because there's a sense of nobody understands me. I'm unable to communicate something that is intangible, that is metaphysical. And so yet I'm stuck with the lack of words within our consciousness to be able to define something that is inherently so complex and so infinitely gorgeous and beautiful. So disillusionment comes in recognizing that you're able to not actually communicate this in a way that allows other people to understand. And so therefore creates this cycle in which you withdraw completely, where you put yourself in a situation where you are unable to actually communicate at all because there's no point. Nobody understands me. I'm not able to say the things I say because I'm not heard or understood. So putting yourself in that situation of isolation, mental isolation. And that can be kind of an interesting thing, because mental isolation in itself can lead to a distorted image or a way in which you relate to the phenomena of reality, because in itself, as it stands at this point in time, we communicate through words. So when trying to take something that in your consciousness within your own self that you understand so intricately, that you understand so beautifully, that you understand so purely, you fail to be able to actually communicate it using the limitation of the left brain. There is not enough information that can explain the nature of what you know. So again, that going back in on yourself and not actually speaking, allowing yourself to withdraw from the reality completely. This type of environment or this type of consciousness can also lead you to situations in which you can be very poetic in your expression, yet again leads you in a situation where people have to decipher Neptune, decipher the nature of what's actually going on. What do you mean by this? Oh, this is very mystical, etc. So this is the type of challenges that you have. In my opinion, how you would go about actually rectifying the situation is that you would learn the language of astrology. Because once you start to transcend the language, okay, the language barriers, and you start to apply truths and communicate them through symbols, right, then you're able to actually capture people's ability to understand what it is that you are expressing. So in my case, I have that. I have this like, I don't have Neptune in the third, but I have the Neptune experience within my own consciousness, where I take something so inherently complex and yet try to convey it in a very simple way. So these are your challenges. It's like finding ulterior ways in which you're able to connect with people that, in a sense, transcends language. Okay, so sign language, for instance, is a great example. Anything that doesn't require words in a way, or you find ways, and this is how you naturally spiritualize your life. You find ways in which you can, in a sense, like I said, communicate that. Okay. All right, guys, fantastic. I really hope that was interesting for you, and you found some information through that to reconnect to yourself and recognize the nature of how you are actually communicating and how diverse it is amongst other people that are on the planet at this point in time. The Neptune in the third, again, like I said, in terms of this conversation, you're naturally inwardly focusing on the nature of how you communicate, and that forces you in on yourself. What I would suggest quickly, just before I end off over here, is check the nature of what sign is ruling your third house. Check the sign that is ruling your 12th house. And of course, look at the nature of Mercury in your chart. Those four things that I've shared with you right now will give you a really, really good indication of what specifically you're looking for in terms of why you've come here to, in a sense, transcend the limitations of the physical reality through Neptune. Okay, all right, guys, fantastic. Hit the like and subscribe button if you've enjoyed this. Check out the rest of my channel if this is the first time you're watching this type of content. And leave me a comment on the comments below if you want me to talk about anything as well. Until then, guys, have a fantastic day. Take care. Bye-bye.